Which shoe is better to hoop in? The Nike KD Trey 5.9 or the Trey 5.10? Let's take a look. Welcome back to our channel. Today we're checking out the two most recent shoes to drop in Kevin Durant's budget-friendly shoe line with Nike, the KD Trey 5 line to be exact. Before we get into how these shoes perform on the court, I'm just going to touch on some of the general info first. So KD's main line is up to the KD 15s now. I think those are going for $150. So the KD Trey 5.9 is going to be down a ways from that, for retailing for only $90. That is kind of around the average for most signature athletes. They do get to have a budget-friendly line to mirror their, signature line, like LeBron, Giannis, James Harden. They all kind of have their same exact budget shoes, kind of around that price range. And the KD Trey 5.10, also known as the KD Trey 5X, and I am just going to use the X to describe this newer shoe, so I'm not rattling off so many numbers today like I already feel like I have to do for the Trey 5.9s. But I mean, this year's model did get a $5 price jump, and now it's going to retail for $95. That is still on the more affordable side though compared to most basketball shoes. But these do have a lot of similarities between the look on these models. The KD Trey 5.9 has a black KD disc, sort of embossed into the midsole. I really do love that touch. You're going to see that same disc show up in orange on the KD Trey 5X. And then there's some pretty obvious changes made to this year's model though, whenever you look at that strap that is running over the lacing system on the KD Trey 5X. And I actually said this in my first impressions videos. This is one of the coolest straps that I've ever seen on a basketball shoe. Clearly that is just my opinion. With a transparent strap with the KD logo and in the middle of that setup, then you have some waves running over the top. You get a squiggly Nike swoosh that actually is the spot where it connects to the Velcro on the side. I think it's a super cool setup. And the Trey 5.9 is going to be a little bit more simplified in that same area. You're just going to have KD's player logo kind of blown up on the tongue. Just not a lot else going on there. But the rest of the shoe is going to be where you see those similarities kind of kick back in. The inner side of the midsole is going to get a GT Run logo, which is that wavy line kind of running through that circle. That's going to show up where that white heel kind of rises up on the inside of both shoes. And you're going to get the same Nike Renew text on the heel for the Trey 5.9s. It's also going to be there on the 10s. But you do get a slightly different setup above that, I guess. The 9s are going to have a Nike logo back there. It's just going to be blank there on the KD Trey 5X. But I already love the look for the Nike KD Trey 5.9 whenever I tested them out a year ago. It was one of my favorite shoes just for a budget-friendly line, just based off of the appearance. And then now Nike threw the strap on there and they just made them look even better. So clearly I do love how both of these models kind of hold up from an appearance standpoint, but now let's see how they hold up on the court. So now getting into more the materials and the performance side, a lot of the time, especially whenever you do have a budget-friendly line, you can't see a lot of the same tech specs being used year after year within those models. These do kind of follow suit there for the most part, but there are some differences to still go over. But starting it off with the cushioning, that is a spot where you are going to get pretty much the same setup between both of these shoes. Both KD Trey 5 shoes here today are going to get some Nike Renew technology, which just combines a soft inner core of foam surrounded by a firmer foam just to give you a springy feel. And just like I finished saying a second ago, that is going to be marked out on the heel for both of these shoes. And then you even get an additional Zoom Air unit that absorbs force and returns energy on all your movements. And once again, that is going to be marked out on the KD Trey 5.9s and on the 10s. You can kind of see it labeled on the midsole there. And I gotta say, KD's signature line, it plays really well for cushioning year in and year out. And that seems to translate right into his subline too. Whenever I was reviewing the Trey 5.9s last year, I was really impressed just with how these played for this cushioning section. You don't normally see multiple cushioning features on a cheaper model. You definitely don't see a lot of Air Zoom or Air Max anything in shoes that are cheaper. I know both Giannis and Kyrie's budget-friendly models, they don't get anything like this setup. And honestly, it kind of shows on how those two shoes play. They aren't quite as soft, but these are pretty nice. I mean, even with the KD Trey 5X having the same setup though, I do feel an overall softer playing experience in those. I think that is partly due to the cushioning underfoot, but also I think the materials in the collar, in the sock liner, just are meant to give you a really soft and plush feel. And having these on your foot and even just in your hand, just squeezing that section of the shoe, it is a little bit more padded in this year's model compared to the 9s. But I mean, whenever we were using our durometer just to test out the firmness of the midsole, the KD Trey 5X was reading at a 39, which is pretty much right there on the average from other basketball shoes that I've tested. But the 9s measured in at a 28.5. And that makes them have a pretty significantly softer midsole. That could be a few different variables, maybe operator error, but Chase does all those measurements and I trust that boy. So I was just kind of surprised, especially with it feeling the KD Trey 5X was softer overall to play in. but I mean, the Trey 5.9's read in as like a softer midsole. That doesn't always tell the whole story, but the main takeaway from this section is that both shoes are really comfortable to play in, especially for the price, so I was happy to see that. For the materials and the support, the KD Trey 5.9 gets a layered mesh upper that's meant to give you a structured and supportive fit, and it's also structured to just give you some additional reinforcement where you need it the most. And the KD Trey 5X does have a similar look and setup, but it's not broken up the exact same. You do have a few different materials that you can actually see going on with the upper. So that lighter blue portion around the ankle, essentially like just the collar of the shoe, is more of like a plush feel just to help add to the comfort of the shoe. We kind of just got done talking about that in the cushioning section. And then the slightly darker blue that's going to be underneath that, kind of running up around the toe area, is more of a mesh feel that is just, meant to be more durable to help keep your foot in the shoe, just help keep the shoe intact. And neither of these models feel cheap or like that you can just flat out tell that it's a budget friendly shoe, but both are super light. Like the KD Trey 5.9 weighs in at 362 grams for a size 10.5. And that's insanely light. Like the KD Trey 5X is literally only going to be 2 grams heavier for the same exact size, weighing in 364 grams. That is going to be well below the average weight of most basketball shoes. And I mean, I am a big fan of lighter shoes just because they do make it feel easier to move around in on the court. But as always, I do take a harder look and just like a closer look at the support features whenever you have two shoes with a thinner material being used on the upper like we have with these models. So along with them being on the far lighter side, the KD Trey 5.9s are going to have that embossed disc, that acts like a little bit of a heel counter just to keep your foot from moving around too much in the shoe. And I mean, clearly both of these models are going to have that, so you're going to see that show up on the KD Trey 5X. Then as for the 9s, you're going to get a layered mesh upper that does a pretty solid job of holding your foot in, like just on any type of movements. Support hasn't been a real concern on there, but now we can get back to my favorite visual piece, at least about the KD Trey 5X model, the strap. And that is going to run over like the midfoot section just to give you some additional lockdown there. So no movement really to worry about on either of these shoes for those like side-to-side cuts. Honestly, both of these shoes play well for both of these categories, which was great. To finish off with traction, it is pretty common to see shoes just kind of slap the same pattern on a sub shoe line year after year and just kind of run with it for a while. That is pretty much what we have going on here. Both shoes are going to get a rubber outsole with what looks to be like a random pattern. Well, I guess it is, but these are actually like inspired by like a sound wave kind of traction pattern that is supposed to tie in Katie's love of music. So I thought that was a cool little touch, but this is a spot where both shoes are going to play the exact same. And for me, that has been pretty solid. Like, I wouldn't say they have insane grip or anything like that, but definitely good. Like, I haven't dealt with noticeable slipping or like struggled with these shoes, with either of these shoes kind of catching the floor on sharper cuts. So nothing great to say, I guess, but definitely nothing bad to say about these models for traction. And the grooves aren't super deep, but the rubber outsole does feel durable enough to hold up really well outdoors. And with the solid cushioning, you could easily be hooping in both of these models outdoors. But to finish off with sizing, I did go true to size on both. And I mean, neither shoe is going to be very, very wide. So if you have wider feet, you may want to test out going a half size up, but true to size worked perfect for me. So for the final ratings and starting off with the appearance, the KD Trey 5.9 was one of my favorite budget-friendly shoes for the appearance. And then the KD Trey 5X came along with the strap and just took the throne. So I'm going to start off going with the KD Trey 5X. But as for cushioning, I mean, having the same exact features, the KD Trey 5X just feels like it's a little bit softer underfoot. Like, the collar's just a little bit more padded to enhance the comfort. So I'm going to go with the KD Trey 5X again. But as for the materials, it is mostly the same thing kind of across both shoes. Neither model feels like it has like a flaw here, so I'm going to go with the tie. And then as for the support, I didn't struggle with either, but with Nike adding the strap to give you some additional help, I will lean towards the KD Trey 5X here. And then to finish off with traction, that's a spot that it's going to be like a dead tie. And this is probably the section on the shoe where it's most noticeable that like you get the same exact setup and stuff, and it does play the exact same. But as for the better shoe to hoop in, I am going to go with the Nike KD Trey 5X as the better shoe to play in. Like, first off, both shoes are really nice. Like, great for outdoors, definitely solid for indoors too. But I mean, from the changes to the appearance, which really wasn't much, it was a small tweak, but I did like it. But I mean, I would say the KD Trey 5X got a little bit softer. You do have more support features. I mean, the KD Trey 5.9s, they did not need much tweaking at all, in my opinion. But Nike pulled all the right strings on this newer model. I was definitely impressed. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. Feel free to throw us a follow or a sub if you guys like this video. And if you're interested in buying the Nike KD Trey 5X and you want to support our channel, just check out the link on screen, or we have links for both shoes down below or in our bio. So feel free to check that out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.